Hello and welcome to Gravitas Wins Radio. I'm Joseph Jude, your host. Whether you are a developer or a project manager or even a CEO, managing knowledge is a key part of your daily routine. But we don't get any formal training in managing our personal knowledge. I'm trying to do what I can to bridge that particular gap. In this episode, I'm going to discuss with Xavier Roy, a content engineer, about personal knowledge management, the tools, and hopefully how you can get started with it. Hope this conversation is useful to you. Xavier, welcome to the Gravitas Wins Radio.
Hello, Jude, and thank you for inviting me to this Gravitas Wins Radio. I'm looking forward to sharing what I know.
Thank you. Xavier, let's start with this. What is PKM, Personal Knowledge Management, and why do we even need one?
Okay. Why do we need PKM or Personal Knowledge Management? We'll be using the terms PKM in short for that. I don't want to take too much time saying those three words. See, we live in a knowledge economy, regardless of whether you work in IT or you don't work in IT. But the current economy situation is that we live in a knowledge economy. So we'll talk of, for this podcast, I will try to limit myself to tech-related work because that's where most of your listeners are. So I'm trying to match to that particular one. So see, knowing what you know and what you do not know is very critical in life. Mm-hmm. I think that's where everybody is trying to focus on. And why is PKM important right now is that, see, as I said, we work in knowledge economy. So managing knowledge, just like how we manage time or how we manage money, how we manage our work-life balance and all that, knowledge is also a center focus of it, especially if you are in a working person or an entrepreneur. How you deal with knowledge will help you grow. That's the core idea of why we need knowledge management. So it is something that we have to understand and practice instead of just thinking, okay, I'll do it when it comes, or I'll know about it later, or I stumble upon it, kind of a thing. So because knowledge management is critical, and because we are talking about applying those concepts of knowledge management to us as a person, so it's become personal to you. So we call it personal knowledge management. Because the entire knowledge management industry is a huge industry. There is this, if you go to organizations, they have their learning and development departments, which was earlier part of HR. HR used to conduct one seminar now and then kind of thing. But after that, you have learning and development engineer, where people are now that over the past few years, I think we have seen a massive growth in that. People trying to reskill themselves or upskill themselves, kind of a thing. So that's the knowledge management practice from an institution point of view. But from a personal point of view, where you as an individual are looking to further yourself in life, either through your career or other life activities. So that becomes key here.
Okay. Xavier, I like what you said about it is like time management. So we cannot just go with the flow of the time and see whatever I'm going to do, but rather you plan your time. That's when you can become productive and everything. So I like that particular analogy that you have given. Now, what's your process? And then, as you rightly said, let's talk specific here. Let's talk about the tech industry and also how we are using it. And hopefully from that, people can derive some knowledge out of that. What's your process for PKM looks like?
Okay. The process looks a little bit different based on the context. So, because you said time management, right? I think of father of scientific management. That's how time management came into 100 years back. With a stopwatch, trying to clock how much time it takes to take a bag of coal from here to there, or I think it was iron or coal, I'm not sure, but that's how it started. So that process of scientific management worked fine. It was an open floor. We also live in an open floor in our organizations. We don't have those whole cubicles kind of thing now. So from when you look at it process, nothing has changed. See, from that age of factory workshop, you have something coming in as input, you do something with it, you send it out. That process has not changed, irrespective to any work that you do, So it applies to knowledge also. So you have lots of inputs. It can be from anywhere. You could have inputs from random thought. First, it can be personally. You could think of something. You can think of something. You think of an idea, or you some spark that you just note it. So the core thing is you note it down. You can read books. You read from books, or you go to attend an online course, or if you're studying, you go to a college and get some course. You attend courses within your. You learn something at work. You learn something. You talk with people. You understand things. Some random things, or I wouldn't say random. They might seem random at first, but all those kind of things are the process. So if you ask me about my process exactly, it is like varied. So it depends on context. So if I'm reading a book, my process is fully on collecting interesting words that I know, interesting quotes or sentences that I know. As a writer, I look for those sentences, alliterative sentences or how somebody has explained something. That's a small joke there, or there is a small inside thing which you will know only if you connect it with some other idea. So those are things. I collect ideas from books, key concepts in books. So if same happens if I'm looking at a video or on YouTube, this is purely from an educational point of view. But even then, even if I'm watching a TV series there are still some ideas there. So the idea is to connect from different aspects of your life so that you get some idea, a lot of interesting ideas that you can have. So that's how the process is. The process has not changed. You get some inputs, process it. You cannot create an output. So it is not a enforced thing that you have to create something out of it. You can still have it. That's maybe someday it might be useful kind of thing.
Okay. Now, what are the tools that you use, Xavier? I'm sure, again, you've gone through an evolution of the tools, but at least now, what are the tools that you're using? What are the things that you're experimenting even now?
Okay. I started with text files. If I have to go back to history, it's started with paper basically. So there I read whenever I read books, right? So I kind of write down those words or quotes from them, kind of a thing. Then I started using a tool. I think everybody knows Evernote, but it's in very, very earlier avatar. So at the time, Evernote was a standalone application kind of a thing. So then I found there was another app called TiddlyWiki, which is still popular, which I still kind of use for certain things. Been using it for more than a decade. But since mid 2020, I think somewhere in June, July, I started using Obsidian. Obsidian it's a tool that's text-based. Couple of things. Reason why I kind of switched to this particular tool was just like TiddlyWiki, it was an HTML. TiddlyWiki was an HTML file. So files I used 10 years back are still opening. I can still open now. So, and the Obsidian uses Markdown files, which is basically text files, with minor formatting for bold, heading kind of a thing. So kind of it's future-proof. That's how I looked at it. So see, knowledge is, I can have my knowledge in Word documents, fine. But if you open a Word document, 20,000, Word 97 was there, and you try to open it with new one, there are a lot of issues, compatibilities kind of thing. So that's how I switched. I decided to be text-based so that it's future-proof. So even 10 years, 20 years down the line, assuming I'm still there, so I can still open it up and still see something that I can talk about or get ideas from. So currently, my main tool is Obsidian. For knowledge management, kind of a knowledge management tool. It's not an input tool. It's not an input management tool.
As a whole, it is the Obsidian thing. I agree with you on that text-based tool, and it is not just about the time horizon that you're speaking with. And then same here as well. I've been using text file across, I think probably for about decade, I have these notes and you open them, right? But the other thing is also, we use different devices. At one time I was in Linux, now on Mac, sometimes I have to go to Windows. All of these operating systems will have a text editor.
Yes, exactly.
And all that we need
HTML,
is just a text editor.
Yes, exactly. That's why I switched to TiddlyWiki from Evernote. Was like HTML can be read by any browser, anywhere. Other option was text. As you said, global.
Yes, including mobile. All mobile
Yes.
devices will have some form of a text editor, and that's all you need. Yes, as you said, Markdown format might have certain few commands for bold and italic, and Obsidian adds a few other commands as well. But then fundamentally, it's a text file. And
Yes,
you can do that. Okay. You said, so I'm going to pick up on whatever that you said in the beginning. So you said it's basically a system. There's an input, there's a processing, there's an output, and also it is context specific. And you already talked about what information is in your PKM, so to speak, in the sense that you talked about what you read from the books and so on and so forth. Purely from your career point of view, what information do you store there?
Yeah. In addition to books, right? In addition to text, see, I read a lot of online stuff. So a typical day goes by with, I don't read from newspaper. It's more like tech stuff and all that I read. So a lot of those ideas or concepts that come from there, right? They are an input for me. Not just one stream was the books. The other stream is the RSS feeds that I read, the newsletters that I subscribe to, kind of thing. So all that kind of, again, I cherry pick ideas that I interested in, interesting things that possibly I can do, or I could look at things that somebody is doing differently, or somebody has tried. I want to try that. And see how that works. So as a writer for me, things about writing take a major because my career is a writer, so I pick up things from that. But I'm also interested in the web development side of things, the how content is managed, arranged. So a lot of things like how new to CMSs that come out, static site generators that come out, all where I think we got together because I was looking for a static site generator. So all those things are kind of an inputs. They act as inputs, right? So all of that, you try to pick them up. You say, look at those ideas. Okay, can I apply this idea at work or in my career as such? Okay, somebody has designed. I've learned a lot from that. Okay, somebody has said that, okay, this particular methodology can be used to capture or display information. Okay, let me pick that, pass it around, maybe ruminate on it. Okay, see how I can adapt it, twist it, change, and think. Probably that's a very important thing that helps in a form of understanding. See, and also it is like you're connecting those dots. Those are all those different pieces of information that are there. So at work, you might have somebody in a different domain or a different, might have had a similar thing, or you might come across that which you can apply. I mean, basically you repurpose it to my work or how I do things, right? So it helps in that way. So again, depends on your work. For example, if I am a developer, I may look at things that frequently used queries. I don't have to be a memorizer of all the entire C++ book. I can look at things. Okay, there's somebody that a Quora or somebody has given an answer. There's somebody who's written big step on, for example, at work at Media, we use MediaWiki for our documentation. So there was a query that I had to write. Okay, I understood the query, but I couldn't figure out how it works or what was so I found out there was a blog. Somebody had written about it. Okay, can I apply that idea here? Okay, it looks similar, but it's different. Okay, what do I have to change? What do I have to repurpose to my particular scenario? Okay, fix it. Okay, do it. See how it works. It works, good. Doesn't work, okay, reiterate or change it, kind of a thing. So that's how I think it has helped me in my career. There's one particular, if you're looking for an example, where you pick up something from a different domain, right? It was almost like 2017. I was in Canada. I was working for a casino, on site. So we were having meetings on how we present information, what our products are, what kind of data they take in, what kind of output they give out. So how is data connected to a different product within a same? We were trying to sell them a bunch of small products, set of products that do something in a casino kind of a thing. So I was just almost a month before that. I was reading. I came across an interesting infographic about how data flows through a system as a tube map, metro map, London tube map. So they had used that and kind of put some information on that. Okay, that was there. So when I went over this was like again it was there. I have bookmarked it. I had kept it there. So it was on my mind in kind of my mind kind of thing. It was somewhere in the corner of my mind. It was that okay, this is an idea. So when I went, we were trying to doing it. We were doing individual systems. So I was taking a picture. I was opening this. Okay, this is data comes in. This data goes out. Okay, but when I went back and I was just looking at what can I do, then this kind of struck. I looked at this. Okay, yeah, there is this idea. Can I take this? So next day when I threw all that, put it on a whiteboard and said, okay, data A comes from B comes from here. So okay, let me color it. Let me color this data as it is a customer data. This is a patent data, and this is systems data that is coming in. It goes through all these. So just like a railway stop, kind of you can imagine how it works. So this is an idea that you pick up from a random thing. Just by browsing the internet, you saw something, you pick that, then you start applying it.
Very interesting.
So yeah, and the other reason was what triggered it was when I went to their IT department. So they had all these huge posters kind of thing. I think they were a big fan of posters. So that also triggered that. Okay, if I make a poster of it, they can just stick it and they'll understand immediately what's happening with the data because they're going to manage that particular casino.
Good.
So that's one way.
That's a very interesting anecdote. Thank you. So you talked about even take this particular tube map that you talked about or the media wiki query that you talked about. So you are browsing through the net. You are coming across a very interesting article. Do you store the entire article or you cherry pick only the components that you need?
A decade back, I was just storing the URLs because I was under the impression that URLs live forever. And then over time, I realized my Delicious page was had hundreds of links, and then Delicious itself went out of business. Yeah. So then I decided, okay, I need to pick up something. So I basically drag them all, put it in a text file, save it. Text file, save it kind of a thing. Evernote was also because it could link. I dropped some of those items into there, and that also kind of helped a bit. But over a period of time, I found that okay, it is better that I have a local copy kind of a thing. Then I started using a lot of clipping tools. I started using Hypothesis. That was when it came out because you can just do it within that. We also experimented with Hypothesis at organization for our. It is there, but it's not exposed to the world kind of a thing. Then there was other tools, but currently, right now, I'm using two tools. One is called Clasp, and it's a small tool that you just highlight and then you pull it up. Then I have Readwise. I think that's now become my major clipping tool kind of a thing. So I use both because the reason for Clasp and Readwise where I can pull it as text and put it in my Obsidian vault. So Readwise is as a better syncing kind of thing because it can also sync my books, except that it is paid. That is fine. It kind of, as I said, the multiple inputs that you have come in, right? So it helps me collate all that together. So as of now, it is the Readwise.
Okay, so can I assume then that you are storing the entire article in your PKM tool, or you are clipping some of the paragraphs, which is interesting to you?
Yeah, it depends. See, there might be an entirely useless or fluff article somewhere, but you'll have one particular line or a point that's important.
Yeah.
So I clip only that. Typically, the whole articles I typically use for say reading it later kind of a thing. I clip it. Okay, this looks nice, but right now I don't have the time for it. Okay, I'll send it to Readwise. Probably then I look at it again. I filter stuff. Then I read it when I see having an entire article gives you the context of that particular code. But some codes or some ideas can live outside that. So I try to see how it works. It is not like there was an idea about I saw on Star Trek Discovery. don't be a responsibility holder. There was just one line. So, but when you look at it, okay, that sounds interesting. Let me stop it. Let me note it down. But when you start looking at it differently, later on, okay, you can expand on that. I have a note on what is responsibility, how not to be a responsibility holder kind of a thing. So you can build on it, right? So it's a part of, okay, if I'm doing it for my self-growth, I look at it, okay, if I'm a manager, okay, I shouldn't do this kind of a thing. It is a thing to avoid, don't do kind of a thing, right? So it fits into that. So those are, sometimes there are quotes, sometimes there are huge articles. Sometimes they don't, you have to understand that. So that quote in context. So I do both, but not always.
Okay. So my process is somewhat similar. Like, whenever I'm coming across some article or something on the newsletter, then I push it to Readwise. It used to be Pocket. Now it is Readwise. And sometimes I store the entire article because it doesn't make sense. Any of the clippings, any of the paragraphs doesn't make sense without the entire thing. But sometimes the quotes or the anecdotes or the stories, they can live on their own. So then I pick it up. Okay. Xavier, okay, I have all of these things stored in my PKM tool. So let's say some latest Obsidian. When I need it, how do I pick from it? How do you search? How do you find what you need?
Okay, that search is an eternal issue. Everybody's trying to do that. First off, I think Obsidian's internal search is pretty much good. There's other two, a plugin called OmniSearch that does PDF also, if you have some PDFs in your vaults. But it also depends on how you organize your vault around. Right? So there are, I think in Obsidian over the past 2 years, there are people who have defined how their vault looks like. For example, Tiago Forte talks about his para method. Nick Milo, he has one called linking or thinking. He has an access method, which I don't know if it's still, or he has changed it kind of a thing. So, and there is a whole subculture or discussions on whether folders are better, tags are better kind of a thing. So it all comes down to how your mind works. That's how I look at it, because I have tried this, I have tried that, I come up with my own. There is a lot of things, but it depends on how, say I try this particular approach for a month, see if I can adapt to it kind of thing. 2 months later, I'm not finding it useful, drop it. Maybe I will try, I have tried other one. So kind of a mix of how your brain works. If you prefer tags, some people use a lot of tags to tag, some use strict categories, Dewey Decimal System to categorize stuff, kind of thing. I use a mix of both. I kind of, this is, some are in folders, some are not in folders kind of approach. But again, search, as you said, Obsidian has that option to fill in as you type, right? That's one. So naming your notes becomes paramount, because you cannot just have untitled 0020 and another 21 and expect something to pop up from that. That, I think it is not at that stage, but there are people who have been trying out AI for trying to do that. But again, depends on how you have kept it. So if you prefer names, then it comes out better. Some use the idea of Zettelkasten and have those numbers. I don't know. I found it very, very difficult because I cannot remember a number. My brain is getting to a point. So it is dependent. But I think internal search tools work better because they are in the vault kind of a thing. But this works only for, Obsidians within the vault. For example, when my director had come last year, we went to a hotel. All of us, we went to a hotel for dinner with our families. So he was telling, okay, this is the third time we're coming and we shouldn't come here often kind of thing. I said, no, this is the fourth time we're coming here. Because usually when I visit a place, I use Swarm. It was Foursquare earlier. It was an app that you try to check in at places where you want. So I've been using it for more than a decade now. So I have lots of data. So whenever I go to a new place, I enter stuff like, okay, check in there or create that place, check in there just to put, okay, I had this, I came with these people, we came for a team dinner. So I looked at it and checked, no, this is the fourth time we are coming here. So we are never coming to this hotel ever again, kind of. We like the hotel, but we were like, We are not experimenting with different food. We are just coming to the same hotel again, kind of a thing. So that's what. So that lives in a different database. My locational, second brain kind of a thing. So I use that as a different tool for different things. So again,
Different
search
purposes.
works.
Okay.
Yeah, but search is there.
Okay. So you have now you have collected all of these things. Okay. So all of, whether it is the full article or some clips from that particular article, some snippets from the TV videos that you have seen, you've stored all of that. Okay. Does it ever get messy? How do you clean up the database? How do you keep it up to date? And I'm assuming some of these have expired also.
Yeah.
So how do you keep them up to date?
Yeah. I said it is a representation of your brain. So it is messy. It is good because it gives you option to connect to a different thing. As you said, there are a lot of things that can connect together, interconnection or intertextuality is what I refer it to. That is there. But again, there are things that become obsolete, links that don't work, kind of a thing. You cannot do anything about it. So that's how I started putting the whole article here concept, because as I said, right, delicious for that, delicious went away. There are a lot of things that I lost over there, kind of a thing. A lot of interesting links, kind of thing. People change. I frequently delete a lot of stuff on my site itself. So it is there. It is stored somewhere. But it is changes, right? URLs don't live forever. Is one of the basic tenet that I have understood about the web. So it makes sense to organize it. Maybe look at it from time to time. Some people do. I also do it randomly. There's a random note option. I don't use it frequently. It is randomly. Sometimes I'm feeling I don't have anything to do, kind of a free mode. Okay, I am in a cleanup mode or a thing. I look at things. Okay, there was this particular note, right? It is up to your brain. Okay, I have already something similar. Let me connect it. Let me see if I can connect it, kind of approach. So it is the cleanup work is always there. Just like we throw out old ideas, right? Whenever we have new ideas, we might not throw out exam, we may throw out certain parts of it. Just like you're cleaning anything, right? You have to do it frequently.
Okay, so you again, I'm going back to the initial thing that you talked about as a system. There's an input, there's an output, there's a collection and everything. So let's talk about the output. How do you share? Have you shared? How do you share? What's the output looks like for you?
I don't share everything that I write. That's something I used to do it when blogs were like a decade back, I guess. I think since everybody moved to social media, I found sharing was okay, but ideas were like okay, not that much thing. So I share mostly at work. Okay, because at work you find things that are interesting, you plug it in. Okay, hey, this is something new. Let's do it. For example, I have pitched for Obsidian as a task management tool for them. We could use that as a task manager. I even use TiddlyWiki. I have demoed TiddlyWiki as a task management tool at office, to my colleagues, even at presentations that I did. Again, approaching it from Obsidian kind of thing. What can you do with it? What can you do with it? Done it to my office, done it to my book clubs, kind of a thing. So there are sharing, but sometimes I find some items are better shared as a workshop. Or somebody showing it. Some are just random ideas. Okay, just throw it out. See what how people feel about it.
When you say throw it out, what do you mean? Is it an email that you say? What do you mean by how do you share?
Yeah, sometimes it is email if it's within work, right? Emails or meetings, live talking to it on a Zoom call. So over the last 2 years, kind of thing. Random things I also post in my. I used to post in my blog, which I've redone. So there was this newsletter thing that I tried. I didn't want to send out emails. I wanted to have it as a URL that lives there. Even though I've deleted it, so I told you URLs don't live forever. But I'm bringing it back. So that's something that I'm trying to share, if possible, to them. Or I also, because WhatsApp or Telegram people are using it more. It's easy to think, okay, I found this article. Come on. What do you think about it? I found this idea in this particular one. The other day, were asking me about something, right? So this is what we were, this is what it means, or this is what it looks. So again, if I have that information, I can share it. If I don't have it, I cannot share it.
You cannot.
So yeah, so I'm trying to collect that.
You're right. One additional benefit I have found because I started sharing is also when I share, somebody will come up with a very different perspective on that particular thing that I have shared. And then that actually enhances your thinking and enhances your idea about that particular concept. Then I might ask, okay, how did you get about it? Then they will refer few other things for you to consume. You should watch this movie, or you should read this particular book where it is mentioned more, or you should talk to this particular person who is an expert on that, and so on and so forth. And then that kind of becomes a flywheel for you.
Exactly.
So I like it. Now,
that's what I was sharing, or not sharing for some time. I'm sharing in particular specific situations, kind of thing, is what I feel works with me.
Yeah. Very true. You cannot share everything, So whatever that works for you. I like the phrase that you used, how your brain works, how your brain clicks. Because for each of us, some of us are visual thinkers, some of us are purely text. So yes, however your brain clicks, I think you should follow that particular thing.
And you need not develop anything, this entire PKM, you need not develop it specifically for sharing. It is for you, personal for you. There are people who write personal journals over there instead of a diary. You can still use a diary, but they kind of put it in a personal way, how this works for me. For example, look at us, listen to a Sunday sermon. I might think of, okay, what is this? How can I apply this to me? Or do I have any thoughts on it? Positive, negative, okay, I disagree with this. I cannot tell it out to the world, or on this particular thing, I disagree with this because of that, right? So those kind of things, people, because it helps. So the idea is to build something that you can manage. Again, because it is a personal thing, it is not a specific requirement that it should be shared.
Good.
Some things you don't share it with anyone, right?
Correct. Very good. Now you talked about, you started with that, so I want to dive a little more into it. How can we get started? So say, for example, somebody is listening to this, they understand, okay, I need personal knowledge management. So how can they get started?
First thing is you can choose a tool, or you might decide not to. You can just have pen and paper kind of a thing. So you can start how you want. See, kind of what are you trying to connect or collect? First, you need to collect it, right? So you might look at things, or you might, okay, there's a new newspaper I read in the morning. I read a newspaper, I see there's something that's different. Okay, let me do this. Or you may do a crossword in the newspaper and say, hey, this clue seems something similar, right? Okay, let me note it. There is an example. I want to see how that works. Or you might read about a book review on the newspaper. Just starting with the newspaper, because typically that's how mornings start for most of the people, unless you're not opening Facebook in the morning. So you pick up those ideas, right? You pick up that, you start some, you maybe note it down in the paper. Okay, this is something that I want to explore, or I want to learn about. See, core thing is learning about something, right? That's how you build knowledge. You don't just sit in your table and the chair and knowledge come in kind of, that doesn't happen. You have to work for it, right? So it involves a bit of work. So whatever tool that you choose, start small. As I said, you find something in a crossword, there is an interesting book title that I have given, note it down. You probably want to explore it if you're interested in books. Or there's something about science and technology kind of thing. Start that. If you're in market, investor kind of thing, you can look at things. Okay, there are some things that are happening. And picking up newspaper, it can also be any media that you want. It's on the TV or your news channel, news feeds, Facebook also, Twitter, anything that you see. Start small. Maybe take a note of it. If you really want something, a starter kind of thing, best thing is things I learned today. Just open up either take a piece of paper or a notepad, text file, open a text file, type, okay, what did I learn today? Maybe nobody's not learning every day. You learn something, as at least one piece of information a day. It could be anything. It could be name of a person. It could be name of a book. Anything that comes in your life, in a day, make a note of it. Maybe you might want to look at it at the end of the week or end of the day. Maybe you want to write something about it. Okay, I met so and so. I had a talk with Joseph on PKM. I can write a note. There were some ideas that I picked up, or some I shouldn't have said, or some I should have said, which I didn't mention, kind of thing. So all that come into one. So it helps the next time if we talk about something. Okay, I can follow up with this. Okay, just I didn't mention this. Okay, I might have mentioned it in a way that could be misinterpreted. So I can say, okay, I didn't mean this when I said this. It is actually this. So you get that. Start small. That's what I would say. Start small. Small tool. Pick up any tool that you want, and you work on it. As I said, it is a system, right? You have to work on it. A lot of interconnections will be there. So when you start small, you're making something small. You grow it up, scale it up, kind of a thing. So you can choose a tool or a framework or thing. Say if you look at my vault and Joseph looks at my vault and says, okay, wow, he has so many. Or I might look at his vault and say, wow, he has so many. It just induces jealousy, or what to say, undue competition of where we are at this point of time. So that's why I usually refrain from sharing graphs or anything because people get what to say, look at it and say, oh, I cannot be that. No, you start small. Start small. Don't compare. It's a journey. It's a journey that you cannot okay, Xavier mentioned Obsidian. If I install Obsidian, my knowledge management that doesn't work. Doesn't work, kind of a thing.
Good. So you already talked about some of the mistakes. Do not compare is one I'm going to take. Do not compare the graphs. What are the other mistakes, especially the beginners? What are the mistakes that people do?
That's one is the comparison. Looking at something, okay, what works for Xavier will not work for you. What works for Joseph will not work for me, kind of thing. So we try to. That's something that we have to understand from the beginning. Okay, this is how Xavier's brain works, or his knowledge management system is. Because I can find something immediately. See, it's a simple thing. I set up my phone in a way that it's easy for me. If I give my phone to you, I think you will not find out how to find a simple app. Whereas same like work with your phone. You give your phone, I cannot, even if you unlock it and give it, I cannot open up or something that I can do. I think this is a very simple example of how each one it's tailored to you. That's one thing, because it is personal. What works for you will not work for me. Second is we try to do everything at once. And with Obsidian, that's a pitfall that I always fall into is I see somebody doing something. Hey, you can use Obsidian for this. Okay, let me do that. I try that. Okay. Wow, this looks nice. Then you obsess over it, or you try to iterate over it, kind of a thing. So that's again a big thing that you don't do it. That's what I'll say, not do it. So if somebody's, what are the mistakes that people do? I think these two things, comparison and trying to do everything. See, I use Obsidian. You can use it. From my understanding is, even TiddlyWiki, I was using it. You can use it as a knowledge capturing tool, quotes clipping tool, personal knowledge management. I have used it for, I've used both for task management, people management, CRM kind of a tool. It does a lot of things. But okay, it depends on what you want to do. So I have a work vault which talks only about my work related stuff, tasks that are related to work, because I use it at work only when I'm working, because that's what matters. There are ideas there I can pick up from my personal vault here or from here to that. There is cross pollination, but again, as I said, this is focused on this one. The other one is focused on a different aspect.
Okay. So the two mistakes: do not compare with somebody else, and then don't try to do everything at once
Yes.
when you're starting. As you grow, probably you can try out, as that is what you are also saying, you're tried out all of these things. You can try it out. If it sticks, it sticks. Otherwise,
Yes.
do not worry too much about that. Okay. So fair enough. Now, what are the habits that help you to do the most out of the PKM tool?
Most out of the PKM tool is, again, dependent on what you use it for, right?
Now, what are you using it for? What are you using it for, and how are you getting it?
Okay. how am I using it for? Again, the context stuff. As I said, the context will say I typically use it for, as I said, my books, notes kind of a thing. Interesting thoughts or ideas that I have. I even have one note that lists all the dreams that strange kind of things that you remember after you wake up, right? They could be connected. There are story ideas that are there. Story ideas that I collect a lot. Maybe this can work this out as a story or.
So Xavier, let's say in your career, for your career growth, purely for your career, okay? So how are you getting the best out of your PKM tool?
Yeah. Since I have separated my work world from my personal one, the first thing is learnings that I do. Okay, there are code snippets that I have. I have username passwords. You shouldn't typically be storing them, but I would. I have it somewhere. At least I know that this is, because sometimes you use multiple usernames for, you have 2-3 usernames kind of thing. Then you have lots of ideas because it can be adapted to your context based on what you have. So some idea from a different domain, as I said, right? You can bring it and plug it in here. Then it also has a quasi calendar kind of thing within my work. Okay, I know this person prefers me mailing them rather than asking questions. This person prefers, for example, if you're situated in a different country, right? Okay, this person working time zones are this. So I typically check in with them. What mode of communication method you have? Teams, you have email, you can just ping them kind of. So some people look at it, some don't. We have an internal chat tool also. So some are active in that, some are not active. So you identify those. So it becomes a CRM for my particular one. And okay, I use it for work task related. We use Jira for work. So I found a plugin that can pull in Jira tasks from my Jira instance and show it to me. So I can look at, okay, today I have these many tasks kind of thing. So my day starts with that. Okay, I have so many meetings which I enter manually. There is an method to connect it, but I'm not explored it yet. But the Jira thing works. Okay, these are my tickets that are due today or tomorrow. So these are things I need to work on or something like that. So I can create that and I can just work on it. Gives me centralized dashboard of all the things that are related to work. So it can be meeting notes. So I have these notes that are there. It works for tasks also. So meetings, I have a new meeting note. Whenever that meeting happens regularly, I add a meeting note to it. Tasks related to that, which get pulled out to my daily note saying that, oh, Xavier, you have to, yesterday's meeting, there was this one. So this is a task for you. I decide, okay, looking at those tasks and my tickets, I kind of prefer my work.
Okay.
This is purely from a work aspect of it.
Okay. Xavier, thank you so much for taking the time to do all of these things, share all of these things. I have 2 questions that I ask all the guests, irrespective of the topic and everything. What's the kindest thing anybody has done for you?
We always rely on kindness, random kindness of strangers, right? There are a lot of examples or things that people have been. Since we are talking about work and knowledge management, I'll tell you something related to that particular aspect. I think it was my third job. We were working with a telecom company. We were like outsourced technical documentation team kind of thing. I was new. That tool was new. Everything was new. That's starting my PKM journey kind of thing. So I did not know much about how these tools work. I was learning on the job, no training kind of a thing. So I was learning it online. So I was making some changes, which kind of wound up destroying the entire document structure. It was a massive mistake that I made. But my lead at that time, she took me aside and said, okay, see, I know that this tool is new. This is, I think this is what it is. So what she did was she asked somebody else who on the team who was a little bit experienced. Okay, you teach Xavier how to use this tool. He knows how to use this tool, but there were the backend stuff that, or behind the scenes template stuff that he is not aware of. So you tell them if he makes a change over that is going to roll out throughout the document kind of thing. It would be a simple thing like a footer. Change a footer value here and there because it pulls in a variable. Entire thing, the name of the entire document, the name of the entire structure of the document changes, kind of a thing. So yeah, that was a very good because she could have like, okay, she would have called me if told me, Xavier, what you did was wrong. This time,
Get out.
Think kind of get out kind of a thing. She didn't do that. So that was the kind of thing. So I still remember her for that. We still keep in touch on that particular thing. That also triggered. Well, I wouldn't say it was part of a thing for me to journey. Okay, next time I do this particular document, I should keep this in mind. That's a task. Started as a checklist, which basically you internalize, it becomes knowledge, right? So that kind of helped me. That's how I also got into a lot of technical stuff, art writing. Otherwise, it was more of I was just a writer trying to write stuff. Okay, I know that I made a mistake. Okay, this is how I correct it. So next time, even if I do it, I am fully aware of what to change or how to revert that to a previous stage without getting. So that's how I actually got into the technical side of technical writing. So that was the thing that I really remember or cherish.
Thank you. Finally, Xavier, what's the definition of living a good life?
Living a good life would depend on what your goals are ideally, but for
you, yeah,
that's what. For me, living a good life would mean that being content, because once you are content, the other things fall into place. If you're content, you are happy. You are what to say. All the other things in life,
falls into place.
What you have, you would be happy. Your health is fine. You are not stressed. Your mental health is fine. Your family thing is fine. Your work stuff is fine. Whereas the moment you are discontent with any part of it is when a kind of domino effect, right? You're not happy because you're not earning that much compared to your colleague. That's it. Okay, something starts you either decide. Okay, I am going to take it positively, and you can work for it, or you might decide, okay, I'm going to take it negatively, and you create a lot of issues either at work, which stress falls into your personal life and all that. So I think being content is, so everyone has their level of content. I'm content at this particular stage, that's fine.
Yeah.
If somebody's content at a lower stage, that is fine, or a higher stage, depends on where you fall.
Thank you.
Is what.
Thank you, Xavier. I loved it. Thank you. Thanks for taking the time and sharing all your knowledge with us, Xavier.
Yeah, thank you, Joseph, and I hope all the listeners have some takeaways from it, even though I don't look for a rapid change in their lives immediately, but I think there will be a change if you start adopting PKM.
Absolutely. I hope you enjoyed our conversations. If you liked what you heard in this particular podcast, please share it with others. Have a life of wins.